For those of you, just to make sure that everyone knows, the recordings are not publicized. They will be available via a specific link, that specific link on YouTube, but they are not searchable or visible necessarily by the rest of the world. So don't feel like you are suddenly becoming a celebrity, or worse, that your privacy is somehow big. It's not. Okay. We only send the information about these to a very limited audience that is only our olive group. Okay. So just in case you had any concerns about being recorded. So be brave, be bold. You're not standing up in public. It's okay. All right. So today we're going to be telling a story. Welcome as usual. Here, what we're going to do, going to look at this. We're going to remember something small. What happened? It can be simple, and we might end with a conditional. Let's think about that. To start with, we're going to wander over to the BBC and listen to a comic talking about telling a story, because most comedy is about telling little anecdotes to make people laugh. So just, here we go. Yeah. Do this. There we go. And we're there. And then I can hit play.
I am a cautious person naturally.
This would be a great anecdote. This is going to be a classic story.
I'm not somebody who takes risks, so it's quite extraordinary that I found myself jumping off a pier in a homemade helicopter.
I mean, whilst I don't necessarily think you should live like that, it's good when people do.
I did the only thing I could do, which was put in an emergency call to God. Now, as far as God was concerned, I hadn't really been a very good client for the previous 32 years. I had to say to God, look, I haven't even believed in you all these years, so I don't expect anything from me. Really, not on my behalf, Lord, but I do have £1,000 left in my bank account.
It doesn't need to be a massive life-changing thing that's happening to you. It just needs to be a connection in your brain between two unusual things. Something that has surprised or delighted you, and that's enough.
I asked my father, what's the biggest living thing? And he said, it's a blue whale. And I said, well, do you think possibly we're a dream in the mind of a blue whale? And he said, nope.
The thing I really like about storytelling is getting to impersonate the other people involved. Oh my God, what a dream.
Yeah, hi, who's this? And I said, who's this? It's the real Turd Ferguson, which made me laugh so hard.
It needs to have a few surprises held back. Nothing better than a twist.
I looked down and I saw that under all the cartons of ice cream there was in fact a large gun.
You need to draw the audience in with details, embellishments. Enjoy creating the world of that story.
Everything was suddenly incredibly loud, like the crinkle of the nylon in my school blazer and the air running through my nostrils.
Putting people into how you felt on that day. Once, I was on my way to work, I was tired, I was trying to eat a cereal bar, and a van came and splashed water and I couldn't eat it. That's the story, right? But this is how I tell the story. I used to work in this school, in the office. I hated it. I was miserable. I wanted to be a comedian. I was working every day, gigging every night. I was exhausted and I had no money. And all I had for my breakfast were these cereal bars that I bought, and I only had one for the day, and I just really, really needed that every morning. And I lived on this estate. Walk out my house and there'd be this pit bull, not on a lead, on the street. It'd be like 7 in the morning, and then I'd have to walk over the motorway. I remember once, I was so tired, it was raining, I had holes in my shoes, and I was just about to eat my cereal bar, and I was thinking, this is the only good thing that's going to happen to me all day. And then a lorry came and splashed a massive grey puddle all over me, all over the cereal bar, and I was like, my life has to change. The sign of a really great story is that when you finished it, they like it so much that they want to tell other people that story. And who knows whether in 10 years you'll hear your story told back to you with much better embellishment.
Right. So, I know that was fast. You've got the link if you were to listen to it again. It would be a great thing to do after class, to listen to these stories. In fact, I'll put them in the chat in case you want to do that. So, to listen to these stories and see if you can find all of the grammar that we're going to talk about. What are the parts of the story? What's the grammar that we're going to use? All right. So we're going to listen to one more story, and we're going to start focusing on the language. So this is going to help us learn about the narrative tenses. All right. So what are the tenses that we use when we want to tell a story? So let me go there. And now I'm going to switch to the next one. So this is on the BBC. Yep. Oh, I'd have to roll it down. There we go. And if you haven't explored the BBC's Learning English, I'll be honest, if I had nothing else to do, I would wander around the BBC and look for all of their amazing teaching materials. They've got so many really beautiful things. I'm going to give you a link to another piece of grammar that's all about tenses. But let's look at narrative tenses. And we're just gonna watch this guy and let's hear his story. Let's see if we can learn about these narrative tenses.
Hi guys, Dan for BBC Learning English here. This time we're going to be talking about narrative tenses, which are story tenses. And we're going to try and do the whole thing in 90 seconds. Are you ready? Here we go. So, can you see this scar? I got this scar when I was about 5 or 6 years old. You see, I used to love jumping on the bed. I say used to because used to is used for a past habit, which is something that we don't do anymore in the present. Although, I still quite like jumping on the bed. Don't tell anybody, okay? So, one day after I had arrived home from school, I went upstairs to jump on the bed. Now I say had arrived because had arrived is the past perfect, and this means that the action is complete before the past simple verb. I could say I went upstairs after I had arrived home. It doesn't make any difference to the meaning. The past perfect always comes first. Now my mum was quite tired because she had been working all day, so she didn't see me go upstairs. Had been working is the past perfect continuous. It's exactly the same as the past perfect, except we use it for longer actions. She had been working all day. Anyway, while I was jumping on the bed, my mum came in and told me to get off. While I was jumping is the past continuous. We use this for an action which is in progress at a past time. We often combine it with the past simple to give the interrupted past. While I was jumping, my mother walked in and told me to get off the bed. So, I decided to get off the bed, but instead of walking off like a sensible person, I jumped off and I went completely out of control and I bashed my head on my mother's bedside table, giving me this scar. I was quite lucky because I could have taken out both of my eyes, and I have quite lovely eyes. Oh, excuse me. I have quite lovely eyes. So, moral of the story is always listen to your mother. Now, I use the past simple to describe the main events of the story because the past simple is the most important tense and it's at the point that we want to focus on. Did you get it? All right, guys. Dan for BBC Learning English, signing off.
Right. And on this page, you will find descriptions of all of these tenses. But let's do some exercises so you get a chance to use them. So some of the some of the tenses he used, the first one he used was used to for a past habit that we don't do anymore. And it's always followed by an infinitive. And the next one is, of course, the past perfect. And that's the focus of the story. Pardon me. That's the focus of the action in the story. It's the important part. And that is had plus the past participle. So let's take a look at working line sound. So used to. We've got an example here, right? So we watch a movie on Monday nights. And so this is something we don't do anymore. Exactly. We just put used to, and we know that it's something we don't do anymore. So how about the first one? How about number one? Can you answer? What else? What do we need to do here?
We used to read our books under the cover with the flashlight.
Exactly. And we don't have to change read. So when we were told to turn the lights out and go to bed, we used to read our books under the covers with the flashlight. Okay. And how about this person? What doesn't she do anymore? Yes, used to go. Why do I keep capitalizing? I don't know. There we go. And so how about you? All right. So now your challenge, come up with what is something you used to do? So yes, she used to go. So you used to go to sleep early? Very good. Very good. What else? Somebody else. What is, give me an answer to. When I was a child, I used to climb trees all the time. Play outside a lot. Very good. Excellent. And it's just used to plus that infinitive. Excellent. Oh, you're a good person. Kurzal, you're very kind. You used to help your parents with the household chores. Good kid. Haha, very good, Samuel. Excellent. Used to make a lot of jokes. Lots of jokes. Excellent. Very good. Anyone else? Oh no! You used to break your toys. That's very bad. Did you fix them too? Ooh. Yes, you can. You can reach an airport, but it means something slightly different. It implies that something got in the way. Okay. And the story is about the journey rather than the airport. Okay. So, and airport is all one word. So, really good. Excellent. So let's look at the past perfect. So what happened to Mary? Mary hadn't left the house on time. Excellent. So how about number one? Can we do this? Gratitude. Well done. Very good. Excellent. There we go. Very good. Yes. The last one? Yes. Perfect. Really good. So we've got two of our four tenses that we're working on. We've got used to for a past habit that we no longer do, and past perfect for something that is completed, that came before, that was completed before. So, right. So the past simple. So if we use the past perfect with the past simple, past simple becomes the focus, and the past perfect is what happened before. Okay. So let's keep going. So past perfect continuous. Do you remember what this one does that is different? What does this do? Remember in the story, she had been working. So it's still something in the past, like the past perfect. It's something that happened before our action, our past action. But this time it's a long one. So it took time. Okay. And then the past continuous, that is what was happening when the action happened. So he was jumping on the bed when he fell. So we've got the past continuous, what was happening, and then the action in the past tense. So there we go. So past perfect continuous. Remember, this is the thing that was happening or happened over time before the action. So by 10 a.m., I had been studying. Okay. Had plus been plus the verb with the ing form. Okay. Had been studying. Excellent. So by the time I got there, what had my friends been doing? They had been waiting. Exactly. All right. What about number two? I've been traveling. Excellent. Okay. So, can you answer this question? What do you think? I had been, yes, sleeping before the sun came up. It shone in my window and woke me up. Right. Very good. Very good. Excellent. Great. Okay. Look at the next one. Ah, yes, the past continuous. Now, the ordinary past continuous. So, what have we got? We've got was or were plus the verb in the ing form. Excellent. Was is already in there. What's missing for that? Yes. Okay. Anna, what were you doing yesterday evening? Last night, I was writing these PowerPoints. Excellent. Very good. Last night, I was watching TV. Sorry, I've got a tickle in my throat. Right. Excellent. Oh, those are some great answers. Excellent. Really good. I will add these to the PowerPoint before I publish it. So these answers will be in the PDF when you get it. So really good. Good. It's going to visit my friend. Very good. Excellent. Really good. Okay, so I think we've got a good feel for these tenses. Let's look at the structure of a story now. Okay.
Excuse me, but was
Yes.
going to it isn't a past continuous.
No, it wasn't. I was, well, it depends.
Was going, it's a determination. Mm.
Well, it's still past continuous because it's got
Intention,
was.
intention, yeah.
Yeah, it's still got was and the verb in the ing form, in the continuous form. So it's still got past and continuous. So it is past continuous. I was going to visit my friend, but it does have another meaning. So it could mean that I was actually on my way to visit my friend.
We could say, we could have
I was,
said, I was going to see my friend.
but going to also functions So it can function as in, I was going to visit my friend, but then the train stopped.
Ah, yeah, yes. Yeah,
Okay.
I got
So
yeah.
you can use it as past continuous. But yes, going to also means I wanted to. I had the intention of doing something.
It's
And
based
that's
on the
because,
context you are talking in. Yeah.
yes, well, that's because it also functions as a phrasal verb. Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
So going to means having that intention. But literally, I was going to visit my friend,
Yes.
but the train stopped.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
it's
thank you.
something. Excellent. Okay, and usually when we use this form, it's before something else happened. Okay, we were reading our books when the phone rang. It was raining heavily when I left for work. I was watching a film and then there was a knock at the door. Usually we use the past continuous when we are setting up a condition inside during which something else will happen. Okay. So, really good. Right. Let's look at the parts of a story and some of the language we can use to say these things. So let me plop that. Exactly. We use it to say what was happening when the important thing happened. So it's kind of background information. Okay. Which one is it? Okay. So
And
one
after
more.
that, I decided I will never arrive less than an hour before my train at a French train station again. An anecdote is a short story about something funny or surprising or interesting that happened to you. All anecdotes follow the same basic structure. They start with some kind of introduction which will get your audience's attention. Have I ever told you about the time when blah blah blah? You won't believe what happened to me when blah 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 blah. Then you just tell the main events of the story in order, step by step. In this part of the anecdote, it's useful to include sequencing words like first, then, next, in the end, finally, and also linking words like so and because they show your audience where the story is going. Finally, at the end of the anecdote, you could add a conclusion. For example, what happened that was dramatic and exciting, and what did you learn, and what will you always remember from the anecdote? Sounds easy, right? But it can be really hard to get it right. So I'm going to give you some advice to make it easier. Have you ever listened to someone telling a story that was like this? Last week on Monday, it might have been Tuesday. Maybe it was Tuesday because on Tuesday it was raining but then on Monday the weather was not so... Nobody cares. The first piece of advice is cut the boring details. I don't care if your story happened on Monday or Tuesday. Get rid of it. The second piece of advice is connected to the first, and this is to keep the action moving. Once you've finished one step of the story, move on to the next one. Don't pause every time to add details or evaluate what happened. The third piece of advice is to practice the way that you say the anecdote so that it sounds interesting. A good way to do this is to think about the most important words in your story and make sure that you put emphasis on them. And then suddenly the lion jumped out at me. And then suddenly a lion jumped out at me. The fourth piece of advice is connected to the vocabulary you choose. Make it interesting. Instead of, I was really scared, say, I was absolutely terrified. Instead of, then I left the house, try, then I ran out of the front door. When you want to tell an anecdote in a foreign language, make sure that you practice in front of the mirror, cut out those boring details, choose interesting vocabulary, and the people listening to you will want to hear it again and again. And after that, I decided I will never arrive less than an hour before my train at a French train station again. You won't believe what happened to me when I went to take a train from Paris to Milan. I arrived at the train station 20 minutes before my train, and I got to the platform and I found where my train was, and it said platform A, which was the right one for my train. And I thought, I've got loads of time, this is great, I'll just go and get a coffee. So I went to the cafe and I got myself a nice little coffee and a snack for the train. It was a really long train journey. It was 7 hours, so I got a really nice seat and I was excited about the journey. I took my coffee and my patisserie and I was walking alongside the train, and I had to go all the way to the carriage at the other end. This train was 24 carriages long, so it's super far. So I'm walking and I'm walking and I'm walking, and I start to think, actually, I'm a little bit short of time because the train is so long, I might not even get to the door in time. But I keep going, and then I get to the end of the train at last, and I press the button to open the door of the train, and the door doesn't open. And then I press the button again, and the door still doesn't open. So now I'm panicking, and I go to the window where there's a woman sitting in the train, and I knock on the window, and she looks out, and I say, the door won't open. And she says, no, it's the other side. So I had walked all the way along this train on the wrong platform. I grabbed my coffee and my suitcase, and I started running down this train, 24 carriages, running as fast as I could, coffee going everywhere, and I ran past 2 other people who were doing the same thing as me. And as I ran past them, I said, it's the other side! And we all started running down this platform, and we rounded the end of the platform just as the barriers closed. In this train station, they close the barriers 2 minutes before the train leaves. So I just had to stand at the barrier crying and crying with these 2 strangers while I looked at my train that hadn't even left the platform. And the train guard wouldn't let me go onto the platform and get my train. I just had to watch as it left the station without me. And after that, I decided I will never arrive less than an hour before my train at a French train station again. We have loads more great videos coming out on English for Life. So make sure you subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.
Right. So we've got some structures now to look at. So here are the structures that she talked about. All right. But what else did you hear? Can you tell me, what did you hear in that story? What tenses was she using? About that, did you notice anything about the tenses she was using? What did you hear in those tenses? Yep, there was some past. The important parts were in the past simple, weren't they? There was a little past continuous, but she did something that we didn't talk about in our narrative tenses as well. For quite a few times when she was speaking in the present continuous. And she did that to kind of make it more urgent, make it sound more tense, and also to bring you in to her story so that you were part of it. So, that should do it, I think. All right. So, but there we go. And she had an introduction. You won't believe what happened to me at a French train station, right? In the beginning, she talks about how she got there early, 20 minutes, and thought she had lots of time. And then the main events, finding out that she couldn't get in, she was on the wrong platform, and then finding out that actually 20 minutes isn't early at all in France. Right. And in the end, what did she learn from her experience? Right. So I've included some. Oh, actually, let's do this. I'm gonna go back over here and let's look at, where is it? I'm sorry. Oh, I've lost the page. Yeah. No. Okay. Well, I will give you this link as well. These are all about all of these verb tenses. And they're really good short lessons, but I'm not going to make you listen to them all. But so what we'll do is we'll look at some of this language. So these are some ways of talking, phrases that you can use to bring in different pieces of your story. And here's the question, my question. How big does a story have to be? What do you think? Does it have to be very big? Or can it be quite small indeed? It can be very, very small. So I thought I'd write a very small story. And hopefully you will too. So this is my tiny story. I was walking through Soho Square, the part with the funny wooden building in the middle, and there was a man just standing there in a bright green suit and a big pink wig. All the people were walking by without even looking over. But I couldn't ignore him because he looked so happy. So I walked over and I said, "Hi, you look really happy. I hope your day is just as bright as your hair." And he handed me a flower and said, "I hope yours is too." And you know what? It really was. So a story can be very, very small. In fact, let's aim for small and see what language we can use to work our way through it. So what do you think? What's your small story? Can you think of something small that happened? It could be as simple as bought a cup of coffee. Maybe the person behind you in the queue was nice. Maybe somebody in the queue was rude. Maybe somebody couldn't control their screaming child. Or maybe you talked to someone. What happened? So think about something as small as walking through the center of London. What do you think? Can you think of something small? Or is there a story that you like to tell about your childhood when you did something funny? Yes, I definitely will. Great. We can pull that up as well. I'll have to pop over to that screen again. There we are. Okay. I don't know what has happened there. Okay, I'm going to get rid of that. So we've got the tenses. We've got the tenses, and we've got that. Excellent. So we've got all of them. So, yeah. So can you think of something very small? Maybe it was just about, we could start with what you did last night. So what was the thing that you said that you had done yesterday? What were you doing? So think about what you wrote earlier Okay. You were reading your book when your wife arrived. Did you have a conversation? And see, you were watching a great movie. Tell us about it, just a little bit. What made it great?
Well, I really like the very beautiful and exciting movies.
Yeah.
And this movies was about the aliens and that will give a lot of informations about the aliens that maybe they can lead and where they can lead and the things. So this information really helped me to imagine the things. So I really like this movie. It, it was between the somehow they're realistic and imagine movie, you know. So these things and give a really new information because of that. I really like this movie.
Very good. Lovely. Mahmoud, when you were reading the news, what did you read that was interesting? Oh, there you go. Oh, very good. Okay, that was great. Mahmoud, that's an excellent story. I do read headlines. Good. I was only asking because I hadn't seen your story yet. That's a wonderful story. Okay, I'm going to add some pages so that we can.
Okay, can I read it?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I was walking alongside the canal nearby yesterday. I saw a um a beautiful bird. Yeah, I don't know. Swan, a beautiful swan swimming
Okay.
in the canal. So its beauty draw my attention to itself. I stopped. Then, after a while, I grabbed a bread from my backpack and tried to feed it. Something very weird occurred to me. When I tried to approach my hand to feed it, it bited my hand. And it was funny things that happened to me.
That's a good story. Very good. Excellent. And you've got the tenses in there and everything. Really good use of that. Well done.
Thank you.
Really good stories. Excellent. Anyone else? So, um, okay, grammatically, is there any difference in meaning and writing for the following sentences? Oh gosh, yes. The change of parts. Oh yes. Okay, grammatically, there is a difference. We have three different tenses. Um, do they mean the same thing? Yes, they do. Okay, this is Mulat's question in the chat. The first example. No, it's not illegal. It's not illegal to feed the birds, so don't worry. All right. So between the present tense, the present continuous, and the future. So the train departs in 5 minutes, present tense. That's what it does. The train is departing in 5 minutes. That's it does. And the train will depart in 5 minutes. Yes, they all mean the same thing. You might use them in different ways. The train departs in 5 minutes. That's a piece of information. The continuous, the train is departing in 5 minutes, so we'd better hurry. All right. Continuous usually sets up an action that something else is going to follow. All right. If you just say the train is departing in 5 minutes, somebody might say, yeah, so what? Because it's not a big deal. So we'd better hurry. That's the reason we've said that it's departing. Come on, it's got that urgency. Okay. And the train will depart in 5 minutes. And after that, we won't be able to catch it. Okay. So they don't have different meanings in their core, but they do have different uses. All right. So, oh, good. Anyone else have a
Sorry,
story?
can I
Yes,
ask you a
please.
question?
Yes.
For example, the things that is in the screen. I have a problem that when I wanna say a story, instead of, for example, but I'm not familiar with dogs, I need to say I was not familiar with dogs, or as I say the story from the past, I have a problem to use the verbs when I want to talk about the things that I usually use that, for example, as I said, but I'm not familiar with dogs. Can I say that I was not familiar with dogs?
If you say I was not familiar with dogs, then you are saying that now you are.
Sorry, I couldn't understand that.
If you say I was not familiar, this is
Mm-hmm.
correct. I am not familiar with dogs, so I was lucky that the yes. So yeah, I was starting to, we need to unpick a little bit. There's a few grammar problems, but no, you would say I am not familiar with dogs, so I didn't want to interact with them. Didn't want them near me. Okay?
So it's a fact about you, yeah.
Yes. So I am not familiar with dogs is a fact that continues. If I said, but I was not familiar with dogs, that implies that now I am. I wasn't then, but now I am. Or maybe I am now.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Thank
Okay.
you.
You can say, yeah. Okay. So that's why stating that like that is absolutely perfect in this story, even though it's in the present tense. Saying, no, I really, and I don't, you could say, I don't really like dogs. I'm not used to dogs. So there's lots of ways that you can say that. This works. So I'm just going to add that I didn't want them near me. I was lucky as the elder, and I'm man's dogs were tied with their owners. And I think you mean a lead. A dog lead, good. And then understood that and took them away from that preposition right. Took them away from me. Good. Oh, are there two owners? Then it would be okay. Very good. Well done. Just a few little tweaks there. So keep working. Really good, everyone. Well, hopefully this has got you inspired to think of your own stories. Try writing them. Try saying them out loud too. So yes, sometimes we do use the present tense to talk about the past. It makes it feel urgent and immediate. And sometimes it's describing something like, I am not familiar with dogs, a condition that continues to the present. All right. So any questions about storytelling? Hopefully you will use these resources and try writing a very short story of your own. So thank you so much for working with me on this. We're going to take our usual 5-minute break, get something to drink, and come back and work on, believe it or not, storytelling in the IELTS. So we'll look at it from the IELTS perspective and learn how everything we've just learned is going to boost our scores in the IELTS speaking. All right. Excellent. So welcome back. Here we are. And let's look at the speaking exam. So welcome as usual. And today we're going to learn about the speaking exam. You'll never guess what the most important part of the speaking exam is. What was the most important part in listening? It was the questions. What about the most important part in the reading exam? It was the, you could say it, questions. Exactly. And in the writing exam, what was the first thing we needed to really look at and understand? And you'll never guess. Of course. In the speaking exam, once again, the questions are your key. So they will tell you how to answer. And like the listening exam, where it went from really simple, detailed information to slightly more expanded information to concepts and wider ideas. This exam will follow a similar pattern of small and personal and gradually build out in complexity. So, and yes, it does involve storytelling. So here we go. The speaking test format, it is always one-to-one, face-to-face, in-person interview. I'm not sure if they've gone to video interviews. I'll have to find out about that. But for the most part, they are face-to-face interviews, and it doesn't matter whether you're taking the paper exam or the computer exam. Because even the computer exam will happen at an examination center. So it may be booked on a different day. It will definitely be booked at a different time from the main block of the exam. All right. It's got 3 parts. It lasts up to 11 minutes. And the first part is the introduction and interview. So from the minute you say, hello, my name is, please call me. Hi, my name is Jan Harriman. Please call me Jan. Okay, walk in, say that, you're off to a fantastic start. All right. Then the basic questions about familiar topics. simple things like, what kind of food do you like? What kind of activities do you enjoy? That sort of thing. So very simple and personal. The second part is a long term. They give you a topic with a few points, and you need to speak about that for 2 minutes. Now, I've had people say, oh, yes, in the second part, I have to give a talk about something. And that sounds scary and it sounds hard. So if you think about it as, I have to tell a story, then two things are going to happen. One, anxiety goes away. I just have to tell a personal story, something that from my experience. And when you connect with a personal story, you connect with all of the grammar and vocabulary that you learned while you were learning other things. So it's not the stuff you learned that you concentrated on, it's the stuff you absorbed, the language you absorbed while you were learning everything else in English. And you connect to that knowledge by connecting with the topic that you're talking about. So we'll look at that. That's why storytelling is powerful. Okay. So you'll have a minute to prepare, and we're going to go over that today. How do we make effective notes? How do we make some notes so that we can really say something interesting in that 2 minutes? And then the last, once again, like in both the reading and the listening, the last portion is about the wider world, and it's more abstract and general. So it's going to be additional questions about the topic that you talked about in part 2. All right. So let's go take a look at these. So what do they want? What they're looking for is important. That's what we're going to give them. Just like in the writing, we're going to give them exactly what they want, right? We're going to discuss this thing. We're going to present an opinion. We're going to go all the way through it, and everything will be great. So in part 1, the question really is, can you talk about your day-to-day life? Do you have the vocabulary and the grammar that you need to say, yes, at the moment I work, but I really want to study at the moment, as soon as I can get everything lined up for my course. What kind of food do I like? Well, yeah, I like, actually, I like to try new foods all the time because I'm very curious about things. So that sort of language. Can you talk about your day-to-day life? Where are you living right now? Things like that, small things. All right. Can you talk about your life right now and the individual long term? Can you talk about a subject from your personal perspective, your personal experience? And so now we've gone beyond simple vocabulary to, can you use some structures, some clauses? Can you connect the things that you talk about? All right. Can you use pronouns to refer back to something that you have spoken about before? Can you use conjunctions to build your sentences out into compound sentences? All right. That's what they're looking in the long term. And then part 3, you know all that work we did on conditionals? Here's where it pays off. All right. Can you talk about a subject from part 2 as it affects the wider world? And we'll see a couple of examples of that as well. And this is where you get to use your conditionals. You want to stretch yourself to use different tenses. All right. Can you talk about the future? What do we think will happen in this industry? Or what do we think is the effect of something on the world? In generalization. So let's look at the marking scheme. Right. Here's the criterion. Fluency and coherence. That is your ability to keep talking, first of all. All right. Some pauses, yes. Logical sequencing, absolutely. The next most important thing is that you keep talking. All right. So, there's, and that's a quarter. Lexical resource, very important. That's the range of vocabulary that you can use. Can you use some idioms accurately? So in the writing exam, we do not use phrasal verbs and we don't use idioms unless they are absolutely the exact right thing and you know it. Otherwise, stay away. But idiomatic speech in the speaking exam, definitely. It is still considered formal language, so you won't, it's not a casual conversation. All right, so you'll still want to keep relatively, well, proper grammar, obviously, because we want our grammatical range to be a high mark as well. Pronunciation. The most important thing about pronunciation is that you can be understood clearly. Okay? Small errors, if they do not impede understanding, do not count heavily against you. All right. And let's take a quick look at the detail on fluency and lexical resource. You will hear me say on the writing exam and on this exam, the examiner is your advocate. The examiner is your advocate because their job description is, oh, has the person fulfilled everything in level 5? Great. How many of level 6 have they fulfilled? If the person has fulfilled everything for level 6, how much of level 7 have they fulfilled? And in the speaking exam, they're actually giving you questions to help you rise up that scale. So listening to those questions and making sure you answer the question that was asked is your key to really moving up that scale. That's their job. It's not to see how many errors you've made to see how negative it can be. Errors are allowed up to level 8, up to band 8. So small errors that do not impede understanding do not count against you in a significant manner. The number of grammatically accurate sentences you produce, you move up as that increases. Okay. So that will, the grammar accuracy will be, the more error-free sentences you produce, the higher up you go. So, right. So let's look at the first part. So first part is our short answers, and you do need to keep these short. People tend to wander off sometimes when they're answering these. So let's talk about, so this is an example of a set of short answer questions from the beginning, part 1. Is the building that you live in new or old? What do you like most about your home? What is the neighborhood like that you live in like? And do you plan to stay in this home for a long time? Now, let's see, how short is too short? Okay, so look at these answers. Which one do you think is too short? And which one do you think is the best? Yeah. So a one-word answer is not good. Okay. 2 is slightly better because it's a sentence. 3 is slightly better because it's a bigger sentence, but there is a problem. There is a problem. Look at the vocabulary in number 3. Are there any words in number 3 that are not in the question? No new language is there, right? And this is what makes the fourth sentence, the fourth answer, the best. All right. So being able to
And
repeat.
sorry, we can say for 3, even it has not been used a pronoun for the building because it has been repeated. Yeah.
Yeah. So yes. Well, in this one, we're using the pronoun it. Okay. So look at this one and see how much new language have you just given them? Because that's what you're doing. You're demonstrating your vocabulary and your grammar. That's all you're doing. They don't care about the answers, by the way. The content of the answers are irrelevant. What they care about is your vocabulary and your grammar. Can you talk about this? Okay. It's old. I think it was built in the 1950s. You could answer this in any number of ways. It's old, and unfortunately, the landlord does not keep it up very well. Doesn't maintain it well. So yes, this one, so number 3 may look like a good answer, but actually it's not adding any new words. All right, so try to use new words, words that are not in the question. Okay. So how do we do this? Well, there's a way. Expand your answer. So you see in that last one, right? Answered the question, is the building that you live in new or old? It's old. It is old. There's my sentence. There's my answer. That's all it is. And then it's expanded. All right. So we're going to use, just like our sentence building exercises from the very beginning of this course, where we took subject, verb, and object, and then, which was the who did what, and then we added all the other information by answering all of the rest of the questions. So pick 2, pick 1, pick 2. Find a way to add information using 1 or 2 of these questions. All right. So let's look at a way to do that. Here's another question. What is your favorite free time activity? Here's a bunch of ways. So here's the way to think about it. Okay, I like swimming. Where do I like swimming? Oh, I like there. What? So think, always be thinking these words. All right. So when do I like swimming? I like swimming on the weekend. I like swimming with my friend. She's my best friend. Why? Because I think it's the best exercise. And how? Well, I walk there because I'm lucky. There's a swimming pool near my house. Okay. So choose a selection of these. If you can put several in a lovely compound complex sentence, then there goes your grammar score straight up. All right. So that's how you answer these questions. Let's look, but there's more ways that you can build, and these are super short, right? The easiest questions, but you can really build your grammar scores and your vocabulary scores in these questions. So don't repeat the question. Remember in the building one, I live in the building. There we go. The building I live in is old. We used all of those words from the question to answer the question. Meh. It's an answer. You get a point for you. You definitely have answered fluently. You've answered reasonably. You've answered in a full sentence. That's a good thing. But you haven't built vocabulary. So we can even do that by paraphrasing the question rather than answering this with, my favorite free time activity is swimming, which you could do. But if you can paraphrase the question, the activity I like best when I've got some free time is swimming. Okay. When then answer two of the when's, why's, how's, the W's and H's. The W's. Okay. So build it up that way. So you can shift that question. So let's give it a try. So, yeah, this is the one. So let's take this first one. What's your favorite season? So here we are. We've introduced ourselves. And now I'm going to ask you, what is your favorite season? How are you going to answer that?
Yeah, can I say? My favorite season is summer because it's after a long time of not seeing the sun, we can see it and benefit from it, and our body use it to make a little bit more vitamin D's. Yeah.
Excellent. Very good. Those are a couple of good reasons. Who else? You can also write in the chat if you like. Okay. You can do both. But I'm happy to. Who else would like to answer? What is your favorite season? Excellent, Mahmoud. That's very good. That's very good. And it's a nice inversion. I enjoy cold weather, so winter is my best season. Excellent. My favorite season is summer because I like the sun light and the sky is so blue. Okay, so winter seasons is not going to work, so it'd be the winter season if you want to be specific. Otherwise, it would just say winter is my favorite, my best season. Okay, anyone else? Yes, summer I can enjoy all the time. What can you enjoy though? Try and expand that just a little more. I like summer because I can feel the sun on my face again, which I miss in the winter. Very good. Okay, how about the next one? This is a funny one. How many seasons are there in your country? How would you answer that? Oh, very nice, Steve. Excellent with that one. Very good. Ali, that's excellent. That's a really good answer. So, as in other countries in the North Hemisphere, it has 4 seasons. Very good. I also like summer is my favorite season because I enjoy long sunny days and don't need to wear heavy jackets. Well done. So, my favorite season is spring because I was born in April. Oh, lovely. You can see new blossoms everywhere. Tulips in the mountains. Excellent. Oh, that's beautiful. It's a little bit long for the first section, but good. Okay. So well thought out. Really well thought out. We want to try and keep it to absolutely the maximum 3 sentences. So that's really at the edge there. Okay. Good. Yep, you can name off the seasons. That's fine. Oh, very good, Wilfred. That's nice. In my country, we have only the long summer and a bit of winter for a month. Excellent. You could say in England, we only have 2 seasons, one with rain and one with rain and light. We have the rain and dark, and then we have the rain and light. What can I say? Very good. Okay. What activities do you like doing in summer? Try 2 sentences. See if you can do this. What activities do you like doing in summer? Oh, very good. That's really good, Mohammed. I do like outdoor activities like going trekking, sightseeing, and forest bathing. That's a really cool thing. Awesome. I like summer because in the dark part of winter, I really miss my kayak and my bicycle. Oh, very good. Excellent. Very good. Very good. Excellent. Really nice, Wilfred. And LA both. Yeah. In summer, I like visiting friends and family. I also do like going on holiday, fishing, and some festivals. Excellent. And Elise, there are plenty of activities that I like to do in summer, but I prefer to spend more time in nature. That's wonderful. Ooh, Steve, very good. In summer, I like cycling with friends and enjoy the view of nature. Well done. Well, here we go. Let's try one more question while we're here. What activity would you like to live in a country that is always hot? Would you like to live in a country that is always hot? What do you think? How would you answer that? Very good. Yeah, I agree with you, Mohammed. I suffer in hot weather as my body can't, I think you mean abide, can't stand high temperatures. Okay. So absolutely, I don't think so. Really good. I do not like to live in hot areas all the time because I could not work properly. Really good. Excellent. Really good. Okay. Yeah, very good. There. All right. So let's carry on. Let's take a look. I think we've got a good feeling for those are really good answers. You've got a nice little expansion, that why on them. So let's look at part two. And once again, this is where we're going to tell a story. So you will be given a card with a topic. You will have 1 minute to generate ideas and make notes. Personal memories and examples are the best. Like I said, it's your key to accessing the language you don't even know you already know. So try to talk about the past, the present, and the future if you can. So, right. When you are making notes, this is exactly the same as generating ideas for the writing exam. You're going to look at this card, ideas will pop into your head, write as many details down as you can in 1 minute, and see if you can just figure out what order you're going to write them in. You're probably going to answer them in the order of the question as well. Make sure that you cover all the points of the question. Don't write full sentences. If you write a full sentence in your notes, you will end up repeating that sentence at least 3 times. Promise. It happens every time. I was trying to figure out actually why one of my advanced students was repeating herself a lot. And that's when I found out, she was writing full sentences in her notes. As soon as she stopped doing that, she stopped repeating herself. It works. Okay, so no sentences. It's important. Follow the same sequence as the questions in the topic. Think about two pieces of detail for each point. And if you can, scribble down some extra vocabulary words that you want to use. Why do you need this? I have lost count of the number of people who have come back to me after the exam and said, thank you. I got halfway through talking and I couldn't remember what the next thing was that I was going to say. And I looked down, I looked up, and I kept talking. Oh, okay. It will happen. Remember, the anxiety, any anxiety is going to make it harder to think and remember. You're also trying to formulate these beautiful grammatical sentences. And while you're doing that, the ideas and information will fly out of your head. So have it on paper so you've got it in front of you. Right, let's get stuck in. Okay, so here's our first example. Oh, there we go. So here's our first example. Describe a person you know who you think is successful. So this is an example of one of the task cards. You should say who that person is, how often you see each other, and what that person does, why you think they are successful. If your mind goes blank, take a big deep breath. That's the first thing. Take a big deep breath. It will turn your brain back on. Second, look at your notes. Okay, that's how you get through that. All right, so here we have our card. What kind of notes are we going to make? Let's look at 2 examples of notes. Right, so this is one person's notes. So the person I'm going to talk about is my mom. I see her twice a year. She's a businesswoman, and I think she's successful because she started her own business. Do you think, with those notes, you could talk for 2 minutes? So not only are you going to have to be thinking about the grammar that you're going to use, you're also going to have to be thinking about all of the things you haven't written down. So by the time you've said the successful person that I'd like to talk about that I'd like to tell you about, okay? The successful person that I'd like to tell you about is my mom. I see her about twice a year. She's a businesswoman, and last year she started her own business. If my mind has gone blank, I've got nothing on paper. And I have not talked for 2 minutes, have I? Let's look at some other notes. How about this? So, yep, it's got mom, but we've also got her name and her age. Growing up, I saw her every day. Now I see her 2 or 3 times a year, mostly at festivals, holidays. She has a business. She designs silver jewelry, imports it from India to the Gulf states. She's been doing this for 25 years. The company is called Mist International. I think she's successful because she just took this vision, and even with no connections, she made a business out of it. She worked such long hours all the time that I was a child. She's a really independent, dedicated, creative, and hardworking person. And you can use all of these. So which of these 2 people is going to be able to actually talk for 2 minutes about this person? Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Okay. So these are the kind of details. If you put in those details, you'll remember to say them. All right. And if you've got lots of information, you can get those big compound complex sentences. All right. So when I was growing up, I used to see her every day. There we go. We've just used a description of a past habit. All right. And we've used when I was growing up. So we've got the past continuous as well. All right. So as soon as you build up, give yourself extra things to say, that grammar just comes in because that's how we talk about these things. All right. So if you're ready, let's give one a try. So this is one that's been in a lot of practices lately. So here you are. I've just handed you this card. Describe a film that you enjoyed watching as a child. You should say what the title of the film was, when you watched it, what the story was about, and explain why you enjoyed it. Make notes. Put them in the chat. Okay. What are your notes? You've got 1 minute. What are you going to write down?
So we should answer the question, yeah?
Nope. What I want you to do is tell me what your notes say. I want to see what notes you've made. Words and phrases, no sentences. I'll give you 30 more seconds. Okay, that was 2 minutes. What have you got for notes? You can type them in the chat or read them off. Oh, excellent. Good. Okay, so Malat, the most important thing is if you have written sentences like this, you're going to run out of things to say. All right, because once you've read those sentences, you're done. So, all right, I like the essays, but I really wanted to. So what I'm looking for is exactly what Mohammed, I'm sorry, yeah, Mohammed and Ali have done. So if you look in the chat, so cartoon movie, Sally, teenager, princess was suffer from father, wives, it was about wives and daughters, I guess, and lessons about how to deal with, and I'm guessing that's challenges. Yeah, excellent. All right. Um, so Ali, you've got films by the Iranian actor Yamshid. Yeah, Yamshid. Yeah. When I was young, the action it was an action film, and it was you. There was something about young and full of energy. Great, excellent. Those are things that. All right. So this is what I mean about um, just the points. What are you going to say? Okay. So I'm going to put this. Actually, I know what I'll do. I'll just uh, duplicate this slide and so there's one. That. There we go. So that's one set of notes. And then I will do another one. This one, excellent. So remember, you've got 1 minute. Now, you could put more details than this. All right. What I'm going to challenge you to do, whoops, there we go. Think about sense memories. Who were you with at the time? I went to see it when I was young, yes, but was I with my mom? No, was I with my elder brother? Was I with a friend? Was it in the film theater or was it on at home? Did I have popcorn? Was the floor sticky? Okay. So this is what I mean about being in the moment. Remember our stories that we were telling in the first half of the class. All right. Think about it. Think about telling it like a story. Tell me a story. If you do, this is what you will get, that rich language. You'll get all of the details, because you're telling a story. Make it interesting. All right. So I'm just going to drop the size down on that a little bit so I can fit some more in. So, so though I love your sentences and your grammar and it's all beautiful, but I need you to make little notes. Okay? Little notes. All right. And that moves us, oh gosh, I've only got 10 minutes for the rest. Oh, too slow. All right. So these kind of notes, practice talking. Use some of these. I'll give you more to work on. Use these. Now, part 3, the wider world. So they're going to take that subject and ask you questions to help you expand the language that you are using and to think about wider ideas. The questions are there to elicit, specifically to elicit deeper grammar structures and vocabulary. The examiner is your advocate. They're helping you raise your score all this time. All right. You want, on this section, you want your answers in 3 parts. You're going to answer the question, then you're going to give an example, and then you're going to paraphrase your answer again. That's perfect. Okay? Closest you can get to that is great. Okay? So, our next follow-on question from that part 2 exam question is, let's discuss films for children. That's fine. You can catch it on the replay. The next part of that question is, let's discuss films for children. Types of films are popular with young children in your country. Remember, answer the question, give some examples, rephrase the question. You can do it. So think about that. Sorry, I'm running over. We'll do more of this. The challenge is answer the question that is asked. Look at this next one. So here's the next question. So that was what types of films? What are you going to say? What kinds of films? Comedies, animations, things like that. Now, answer the question that is asked. Why? Why should governments review films for children? That's the question you're answering. Why? Why is it important? Not do governments do this, not should, but why? Why should they? What's the reason? Okay. Once again, look at the language that that's eliciting. Well, governments should do this because children need protection from things. So, and the next one is a how question. So how do you think film stars influence children? Well, I think their behavior is in public and children see this. So of course they're going to be influenced by it. Right? And then it will move on even wider. Let's look at the film industry. How successful do you think the film industry in your country is? Right? Why do countries often have a festival? So we've got a how. How successful are they? Now we've got a why. All right. Why do countries have film festivals? Well, to promote their industry. Are big budget films always better than low budget ones? This one, the key to this question is in the middle. Are they always better? Or can a low budget film be very good indeed? Okay. Sorry to have to dash through this part. We'll cover this a bit more, and I'll play some of the answers for these from a couple of examples next week. The examples can be seen at this website, this YouTube playlist. I do that all the time. Hit the wrong button. So I'll put that in the chat as well. There we go. So, yeah, these can be seen there. I've included a couple of suggestions of ones to listen to. You'll find these on this YouTube channel. And so what I want you to do is really think about what we've talked about here, looking at really looking at the questions, understanding what is being asked, making sure you're answering the question that has been asked as well. Okay, that's really key. So thank you. Next week, we're going to go through, oh, wait, and breathe. Don't forget to breathe. Big deep breath. Really, the examiner is your advocate. I promise this is true. Okay. Big deep breath. Picture me there. Okay. You're just talking to somebody. Maybe you're talking to your favorite auntie. It doesn't matter. Just try and have a conversation. Okay. It's a challenge, I know, but I know you can do it as well. Thank you so much for joining me
Sorry,
today.
Jan. Can I ask a question before
Yes.
finishing the class? Do
Yes,
you think
please.
that for the ESOL courses, is there any sources or information about the ESOL? Is there any books like IELTS exams and that explain the things that is in the ESOL exams or not?
Oh, no. Well, let me look for resources. Sorry. I don't have any offhand, but I can take a look for that for you.
Thank you so much.
Definitely.
Mhm.
Okay, no
Thank you.
problem. No problem at
Have
all.
a nice day. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, have you joined the e-group, the WhatsApp group?
No, I'm not on a WhatsApp group.
Oh.